Hello, this is National Chess Master Rats. I'm here at chess.com to analyze the game played by my friend Ray Sollars. This was played Monday night at the Arcadia Chess Club Championship, and just Monday, the March 18th. And I wanted to make a video of this game because I think it has a lot of instructional value to it. There's quite a number of lessons to be had for any of you that are striving to improve your chess. The first and foremost one is take your time. Okay, I posted my game in the in this round at the same tournament. We're both playing in the tournament. I posted it in the King's Indian attack thread, and I noted my game lasted 61 minutes. I'm estimating this one lasts about 40, and because I was there when it happened, obviously, and Ray did tell me that he spent more time than his opponent did, so we'll assume maybe 25 minutes versus 15 minutes. Now the time control was 40 moves in 90 minutes and then game in 30. So even if he took 25 minutes, he still had approximately an hour on his clock where he could have sat and worked it out. And most of you watching this video are capable of finding exactly what I'm going to show you here, even if you don't see it all at once. And my recent thread, which is in the forums on Members Best Games, there's about 56 videos in there where I was making a video of anyone that submitted a game. It could be their best game, it could be a game they lost that they wanted help on, and help them find their strengths and weaknesses. And basically I teach you guys how to analyze. Nobody really does that, how to analyze a position, and I show you how I do it, and that's what I'm going to do it here. Now, I had to bug Ray for a couple days to see this game. He didn't want to show it. I mean, I can understand why, but he realized he's a good sport. But I was surprised what I found because I had no idea. I only had a limited view of this game, which I'll mention is when I get to that position. This club has a lot of junior players, and they're good, and they're going to get better. Ray's played 3 of them in 3 rounds and has a 1-2 score, and I played 1 in round 1 and I have a draw. So I was only able to beat the adults with the higher ratings. But anyway, got to watch these kids. They're good. They're enthusiastic and they're ready to play, and they're not afraid of any of us. So let me run through the moves here, and I'll get to a point. I'm not going to really focus on the opening. Yeah, I've known Ray 45 years in May. We lived about 8 to 10 miles apart and met at a chess club in May of '68 that was in the town in between us, and known him ever since. And he's striving to improve his play. He's a solid player. He knows a lot. Just has to cover a few little weaknesses here to move on up, and he'll get that done. Anyway, I think I got the opening right. I'm doing it from memory, but I know I got the key position. And at this point, Ray made an exchange on f6, and there's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, he even says it's recommended in his literature on this opening. I discuss some reasons why it's okay for the bishop to go back to h4. In effect, this is like black is playing like the King's Indian attack, or King's Indian defense, so to speak, against this the system and of the Tory attack. Anyway, often with colors reversed, I run into this bishop coming to the H7 B1 diagonal, and that puts a little pressure on my E4 square. Now the reverse is true here. This bishop can find its way back to G3, and in turn put some pressure on E5. But that's about all I want to say outside of the line. And here's where unfortunately Ray kind of started to lose the drift of what's going on, and I'll explain that in just a moment. If any of you could see everything that's going to happen and see it quickly, or see it as it transpires, I'm going to tip my hat to you. You should be able to see it if you take your time. Anybody rated over 1,000 should be able to see some of these the tactical combinations that ensue if you take your time. And if you don't all see it, don't worry about it. As I explain it, you'll see the themes that come up here. But at this point, Ray made a combination, so to speak, that he thought was winning a pawn, even though it doesn't win a pawn. He just had a brain hemorrhage here and just didn't calculate correctly. But we can do that. We can make exchanges and forget how much we're trading off. And it was probably wrong to take this. Well, yeah, it's okay to take that pawn, but this next move is not right. Knight takes e5, and White should just continue his development. Put the queen on b3 or d2, or I'm sorry, c2 or b3. That's what White should do. Okay, c2 is probably nothing wrong with that. b3 doesn't cover e4, and it does tie the knight down to guarding e4, but that's not important. So Black has a tactic in return to win the pawn back, and it was at this point that I walked by the game and I saw it in this position, and I said to myself, this has gone wrong. Now the reason why this pawn exchange was wrong, aside from the fact that it didn't win a pawn, is what White has done is opened up the board for the two black bishops. That's what's wrong with it. White has given up the bishop pair, which is fine if you can use your knight, but the fact that White has opened up this position for the bishop means that this combination shouldn't have been done. So had he spent a little more time analyzing it, counted up the pieces right, and he realized he wasn't a pawn, he would have looked at this position and said, man, I've activated his bishops. This is no good. I won't play it. Now, if in hindsight, if somebody saw everything I'm going to show you and they deliberately played for this position because of the swindle that comes up, again, I'm going to tip my hat to you. It's not sound chess. You don't want to risk too much. Maybe you can get away with it against the low-rated players, but the better players will grind you out. But what could have happened is just nothing short of remarkable, and we'll see here in a moment. Okay, so what should White do here? Well, I'm not going to concern myself with what White should do here. But White plays this bishop c4 move, and all of a sudden he gets a weak feeling about his position because there are two pieces sitting out on c4 and e4 that are undefended. And all of a sudden Black comes up with the tactic. Now, actually, Black had a good move, I think a good move here that he didn't play, and I just want to show it to you in case you're wondering. The move is bishop takes h2 check. And the point is, if king takes, the queen comes to h4 and checks and picks up the knight. And Black has just bagged a pawn, and White's going to be a little embarrassed. So this is one reason in itself to reject bishop c4 because of this tactic. Okay, here comes the check. Now Black regains the knight, but White's got a little positional compensation here. Just get the queen to b3. This keeps pressure on f7. It keeps pressure on b7. Black can't play b6 here with the idea of being kettering because White will have bishop d5. The white rooks are ready to come to the open files. White has some compensation for the pawn, but hey, Black's still a pawn ahead, and White's playing catch-up. Maybe Black can return the pawn at some point and have the better game. But, White's going to have to win a pawn just to get equality, material equality, and it's not clear how he's going to do that. It can be done if White gets with enough play. If you get forced into this position, had Black played this, White would have been forced to find this variation, and who knows what would have happened. But I think this was better for Black. But instead, what happens? Black sees this tactic, and here's the tactic. Maybe you're looking at it too, and suddenly this is serious, and this is what sent Ray into panic mode. The threat is mate and 1. That's obvious, okay? But the secondary threat is to play queen takes e4. And how does White defend this? And the problem is, if the natural move knight to g3 doesn't work here because this bishop is hanging. So at this point, maybe Ray spent 5 minutes on this move. I don't know. I don't remember. But if he told me. But what happened, unfortunately, was he didn't analyze it thoroughly. And you might want to pause the video because this is a good question. What do you do here if you have White? And Can you see everything? How do you salvage this position? And so you might want to pause the video and give it another shot. Okay, pause the video. Okay, you've resumed the video. I hope you found the move F4, because if anything, if all else fails, if you decide you're losing a piece and going to lose the game, you can resign. Okay, well, nobody ever won a game by resigning. But here's the point where I want to say just one thing for a fact. Many times in games I've played, all of a sudden when I start getting a good position, my opponents realize what's happening and they dig in and they spend their time and they find the best resource they possibly can. Now, not always, but if you're a good player, this is where you have to recognize this is time to dig in and find a move. So from this respect, Ray has dug in and found a move. Now, what should Black do here? Well, I'm not worried about what Black should do. But F4, it turns out, is a very good move. Okay, so what Black does is play Bishop takes F4. And here's the problem that Ray ran into. It was his thinking. He just didn't analyze well. He said he saw in his mind, if Bishop takes F4, I'm going to play G3, and I'm attacking his queen. And if he takes, I guess he could take the pawn with the bishop, and he's back on the knight. But I guess Ray's thinking that he's forking. The queen has to move, and then he grabs the bishop. Well, the whole flaw with this is just simple. It's just, you overlook this check. Black doesn't have to move his queen. Black has his Zwischenzug. It gives a check. Now the white king is under attack again because white has exposed it. The king must get out of check, and suddenly white's in trouble. White's losing at least a piece. Where are you going to put the king? Let's try H1. Then queen takes check, and now this bishop is loose. My goodness, you're going to have to break the check. You better do it. We can do it with the rook or the queen. Let's do it with the queen. But Black just happily remains a piece and a pawn ahead, and white has no hope. So it's obvious that because of white opening up the position for the bishops that this all took place. But anyway, I didn't have any idea what was here, and I said to myself, okay, fine, you lost a piece. Well, it's better to be. What else can you do? Well, you can resign. But I didn't see everything that's coming. I had to work it out. I sat there with Ray and I worked it. I said, look at this, and the more I realized, white's going to win this. White's winning this. You might want to pause the video and give it a try. But white to move and do the best he can. Okay, resume the video. I maintain that white wins with rook takes F4. And the logic of doing this is that you're better to lose an exchange than to lose a piece. So this is how we started. I saw nothing when I did it. I just said, let's start with this move and see what happens. And had Ray just stopped and seen that check did him in, he would have found this move of rook takes F4. Now what to do now? You're down the exchange. Well, white has a very good move here, and I maintain white's going to win this. And the move is queen d4. Now all of a sudden, black's got some serious issues here. Okay, what's white threatening? White's threatening to play knight f6 check with a discovered attack on the queen. So this queen needs some safety. Where are you going to put it? Okay, so this is basically we just sat down and started analyzing this. And as I say, how do you analyze? Well, you look at forcing moves. White's queen d4 was a forcing move. It threatened to win the queen. Now black's going to have to deal with that queen loss. So we're going to have to examine candidate moves that don't lose the queen, because it's simple. If black just plays a move like a6, he's losing his queen. So this queen needs help. So we examined g5. But the fly in the ointment is that white gets this check in anyway, and black has to step very carefully. If the king goes to g7, then this double check is deadly. Where are you going to put the king? If he goes to h7 or g8, it's mate and 1. But all of a sudden, this is pretty. We just drive the queen or drive the king into the center of the board, and white's going to have a mate here momentarily. And maybe it was lines with queen f5. But this is gruesome. I'm not going to cover all the lines, mainly because I don't believe in being thorough. I mean, you don't have to prove everything. Basically, what white has to prove is that he can put black on the defensive here. Black has to find a move. It's his clock ticking now, but g5 just runs into trouble. So on this check, as I said, coming out, black pretty much has to go here, and now one thing white can do is go back. Okay. Is just go back. If all else fails, go back, and you can get a draw. I said, well, gee, you're going to lose. Now you can take a draw. Well, what if black decides to play for a win? Well, suddenly, then this rook gets active, and now the queen needs to find a new home. And let's see, you could go here. No, it can't. No, it can't go to e5 because of the pin. The queen takes e5, and the rook on f8 falls. So this queen's just running into trouble, and then suddenly this move comes in. Now we're threatening new discoveries and double checks. So like a desperado move like c5, trying to deflect the queen, doesn't work. And if black exchanges, just to show you how grim this is, he gets mated in rapid fashion. Boom. So black's in a world of hurt here after queen d4. G5 doesn't cut it. Okay, it doesn't. We looked at other candidate moves. Queen g4 fails because now there's a knight fork on f6. So we looked at queen f5, and it pretty much fails the same way all the other lines do. And black's losing. And we spent some time on it. And what's black going to do as he's faced here? Is he going to find the best move? And what is the best move? And honestly, like if you've seen my video series, I say don't turn the computer on and let the computer solve it for you. But basically, we left this. We spent a good 20-30 minutes on analyzing all the possibilities, and I said, well, crunch it on Houdini, see if I'm right. And he did, and I'll show you Houdini's defense in a moment. But you don't want to turn your computer on because this is going to show you the right move. There is a proper way to use a computer, and I've mentioned it in my video lesson 1. Only after all other possibilities are exhausted. But and Ray knows that. But the drawback is you get lazy and you turn it on, and you're ruining your chess. You're destroying your ability to analyze a chess game because the computer's showing you what to do. It's not saying why. It's just going to throw number valuation at you here. But analyze without the engine. Now, I'm going to show you the best move, and you'll see why. Because I don't think a human's going to play the best move. The human's going to have to see everything here. What the computer does is it gives up the queen. It realizes it has to give up the queen. It's lost. It's a goner to all combinations. And then black gives up the queen. And what's happened? Well, from a pawn count point of chess, it's even. Black has a rook and bishop and pawn for the queen. That's 9 points to 9 points. But white's got the initiative here. It's not clear how he's going to break in, but the white queen is active. Black's going to have a hard time defending this, especially being down 200 rating points. Okay, and it's doubtful very much that black would have found this line. Black would have succumbed quickly. And I maintain black will lose this game too. Analyzing this is beyond the scope of this video, but it's good practice to sit and analyze this position because maybe you're going to get in a position where you have the queen for the rook minor piece and pawn or two. But going back, let's just see where we've come. had white foreseen all this with knight takes e5, then I got to tip my hat, But it wasn't sound because black missed better moves, okay? And white, of course, has better moves. See, knight takes e5 is not a good move, but if you're planning it, okay, bishop c4 is not a good move, okay? So that's two bad moves by black or by white, and a couple bad moves by black. This being one of them. And after f4, what black needs to do is just bring the bishop back, okay, and say, you know what, I didn't get anywhere, because bishop f4 just flat out loses, and it's a shame that that Ray didn't win this game from his perspective, but he's a good sport about it. He realized he lost. He learned a valuable lesson. And, one thing I said, when I used to lose games like this too. I would get the winning game, have the game, and I didn't see the combination. And or I would get down in a position and I couldn't fight back. And I said, with me, the way I got over it, and if this helps, I think it will, I just refused to accept any other outcome. In other words, I decided I was tired of losing winning games, and I was going to make sure I won them. Well, yeah, I still lose winning games, I still did, but I cut them down. And when I cut them down, what happened? The one thing I talk about in lesson 001: reduce your mistakes. Find out what your weaknesses are and reduce your mistakes. This means you don't lose a lot of these games you used to lose, or you draw them and your rating doesn't drop or stabilize. It goes up. And what happens when your rating goes up? You play stronger players and you learn from them. Okay? It's that simple. Nobody has a simpler program to improve their chess than what I've put out on my free video lessons program. It's not complicated, and it's fun because you learn by analyzing your games where it counts. You analyze your tournament games afterwards. You play correspondence chess, online chess, and you analyze during the games, just like I've outlined in lesson 1. I got the best program on the market. I'm confident. Bobby Fischer was the best chess player, and he believed it, and he was. Well, I believe I've got the best program for improvement, and I'm not going to debate that. I got countless testimonies that say I'm right, and I believe in it, and I'm here to help the world improve. Okay? All right. Thanks everyone for your time. I'm just keep making videos. You can find my YouTube channel and find hundreds of them if you haven't seen what I've got to offer. All right. Thanks so much for your time. Take care. Bye.